Hey, and we are the coalition, loud and proud, outrage porn-free, civilly disobedient media. We are here at your Roger Williams Park, and we are at Food Truck Friday, an event run every week. We're going to find out a lot more about it right now. I'm with my friend Eric Weiner. He is with PVD Food Truck Events, and you'll see him and the trucks he works alongside with at virtually every part of Rhode Island. Eric, thanks for spending time with us. I know this is, on one hand, you got a great crowd here. It's a hectic time. But, we wanted to learn a little bit more about how things work and also engage in what we lovingly call shameless self-promotion of your business. So we appreciate your time. A little nip of fall in the air tonight, huh? Is this the first night?
Yeah, so it's actually week 23 of 25. It's our 9th season, and this will be our last summer Food Truck Friday. Our final 2 will be in fall. So fall arrives this week, so this is our final summer Food Truck Friday, and our last 2 of this year will fall in fall.
Right. It's funny because I'm here for the first time, incredibly enough. Usually I'm on the road, but there's an awful lot of comfort food here. Interestingly, I'm looking around and I'm seeing a lot of food that's really perfect for fall. A lot of barbecue options, gourmet grilled cheese, burgers, all sorts of noodle bowls. Trinity Brewhouse is represented here. I wasn't aware that you could get a cold one while you were, sampling the food truck. So, how many trucks do you have that you work alongside with? Just give us a little layout. Is it a rotating cast?
Yeah, sure. So this all was born from the website we started 12 years ago, foodtrucksin.com, which currently lists over 9,500 food trucks across the country in 1,800 cities. And back in 2015, the zoo took over the contract to run Carousel Village. So they have a 10-year contract to run Carousel Village inside Roger Williams Park. And they asked us if we wanted to do a food truck night and rent the space from them on a Friday night. So back in 2015 in May, we brought in four food trucks, did a food truck night, and people asked us when we would come back. And that's turned into every single Friday from April through September. This is our 9th year. And on any given night, you'll find 15 to 18 food trucks here. We list over 125 food trucks on our website that are based in Rhode Island, and 65 of them have signed up to be part of the rotation of all the events that we do. So whether it's Food Truck Friday, or it's Warwick Food Truck Night at the Crown Plaza, or it's Chase Farm in Lincoln, at the beginning of the season, we get the availability from all 65 of those trucks, and then we schedule them based on their availability and how much space we have and what kind of trucks are popular in different places. But over the course of the 25 weeks here, you'll see 65 to 70 different food trucks come through this event.
How many of these folks have bricks and mortar, or is this still very much a mobile business?
It's a combination. I think if we have 15 trucks here tonight, probably 4 of them have some sort of brick and mortar or permanent location, and the rest of them are either happy doing a food truck or looking to build into some sort of expansion of their business. But I'd say about 30 to 35% of the food trucks in Rhode Island have some sort of permanent location attached to their food truck.
And without naming any individual names, reflecting on this summer, for example, what was the hot trend? Was there any particular style of food that just grabbed consumers?
Yeah, I think the thing that continues to be the hot trend coming out of COVID is the general idea of choice, right? Like, people want to come out with their extended family and friends, and if someone loves pizza and someone loves burgers and someone loves tacos, everyone is able to come to our events and sit down for 3 hours. We have live music at every one of our events, and they come and they make an entire evening of it. Some of our friends will go play tennis on the other side of the park and then come over for a beer and a bite afterwards. And we've got a little bit of something for everyone at Food Truck Friday with all of our events. It's really that simple formula, a place where people can get outside, support small local business, and enjoy time with family and friends in an environment that's inviting to everybody.
And how did this work during COVID? Because again, shame on me. I actually worked all the way through COVID doing the news thing, so you didn't get a chance to stop. But how were you allowed to stay open? And there was the ticket outside movement as well.
Yeah. So we worked really hard. So the first 3 months, we kind of went virtual. Like, trucks were parked on street corners all over the place, and people could go and pick up takeout. And we actually streamed music live on Facebook from my backyard. And then in July, we were able to get a Take It Outside program approved. So we had 6-foot social distancing in lines. We had mats down. People had to wear face coverings. But really, we were one of the first things to get back out during COVID, which was great because what it afforded us was a lot of the customers that were restaurant customers that never imagined they would ever eat at a food truck really had no choice. So now you've seen even an expanded customer base for food trucks of people that maybe used to only be restaurant people have now also embraced the food truck culture.
Well, and that's interesting to me because, you know, I'm from the New York City area. I've spent time out in LA. These were the sort of the early testing grounds, if you will, of food trucks. It was largely very ethnic. A lot of Latino folks brought the tradition of food trucks from whatever part of the world they came from, and it took off. But now you've got really an incredible mix. What's the range of foods that you have right now?
So tonight we have everything from Italian street food. You know, we've got chicken parm sliders and fried ravioli. We have French fries that are topped with all kinds of toppings. You know, traditional American food in terms of sausages and hamburgers, and then we have barbecue, and then we have some really good ethnic food tonight. We've got the Italian food here tonight. We've got a taco truck here tonight. We've got Methods of a Mad Woman that's kind of chef-inspired world flavors. So we have a little bit of everything tonight. And Providence has still got an amazing culture. Like, you can drive up and down Broad Street any night of the week and hit all of those Latin trucks all in one place. We try to have like one of each type of food at our events so that everyone is represented, and also that there's not too much competition for the trucks that are serving certain types of food.
Now, a number of these trucks also do private events, and I think that's really an interesting evolution because food trucks have become the new catering. There's so many events in Rhode Island.
Yeah, you know, we do a lot of consulting and helping with companies and weddings, and it's become relatively common for people to have food trucks to serve their employees at a company event. We've actually got 3 or 4 in the next 2 weeks. Fall's a popular time for that, and yeah, more and more people are seeing the convenience of a truck pulling into their driveway to feed 50 or 60 people in the backyard, and it's definitely a market that's continuing to grow for the local food trucks.
Yes. Are there opportunities for them, say, post Thanksgiving? Or does it sort of go into hibernation?
It's tough. I mean, one of the things that has definitely happened after COVID is there are a lot more trucks coming into the marketplace and going out of business or stopping to operate. So there are more trucks in Rhode Island right now than there ever have been, and it's a challenge for the operators to have enough business to survive year-round. So many of the trucks will hustle and try to do small catering events or do street service year-round. A lot of the trucks, if they're fortunate enough to have made enough money over the summer or have a partner or a spouse that makes it, they will park the truck for a few months. But once you get into Thanksgiving, it's a real difficult 3 months for most food truck operators.
Talk to me about the economics. Now, I'm not looking to go specific to any one vendor here, but at least, you know, full disclosure, I used to sell Ford trucks. I sold Ford trucks for 19 years. And the 59 that I see over there is a classic food truck chassis, really that evolved for folks who had franchise bread operations. That's why sometimes they're referred to as a bread truck.
That's right.
But, you know, what are some of the startup costs when you get into trying to do this? And I know the temptation for a lot of folks is to buy used ones, but that represents a challenge into itself. So how do these guys do it?
I mean, it's really something you see a wide range. Like, you see people that buy those old bread trucks and they have a full-time job, and over 6 or 9 months on the weekends they're building it out themselves, you know, and at the end of 9 months they've spent $45,000 and they have a truck on the road. But you also have a lot of manufacturers that are based out of New Jersey or Texas or Florida that are building trucks on brand new chassis or relatively new chassis, and people are spending $150,000, $160,000 on trucks. So, you know, you see that even in here tonight with the 15 trucks here. You have some people that bought a trailer and built it out themselves. You have some people that bought a truck that was brand new and had it manufactured. You know, once the truck gets on the road, you know, the economics, you know, it's a grind. It's a hustle. It's a grind. For some people, it's a side hustle or it's a part-time job. For some people, it's a transitional job to work towards retirement, and some people are trying to build a career out of it. But it is a job that at no point could anyone describe as being easy. Fun, yes. Easy, never.
And I get you. Well, if there's any value to some of these food rescue and these food reality shows, is that they show people how difficult it is actually to run a restaurant, keep up with serve-safe regulation, health department regulations, all of that, because I would imagine that your folks here are constantly under the watchful eye of the Rhode Island Department of Health and the respective communities.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that is similar is that the eye that they're under is the same that any restaurant is. Food trucks and restaurants are treated the same. I think they have intrinsically they have their own separate challenges and benefits, but it's an industry that's treated the same in terms of safety and health. Both food trucks and restaurants have the same guidelines and the same requirements.
Which brings us to an interesting point in the conversation, because each municipality, as our governor likes to say, the 39 municipalities in Rhode Island, each have their own very distinct relationship with food trucks. A number of towns, and we don't have to call anybody out, but a number of towns are very welcoming, and then there's other towns that are very, very aggressive. Why are, since this represents a boon to virtually everybody, why aren't those cities embracing food trucks? And you've got some towns, a city by the sea, where you've got effectively a red line around most of the city. What are their objections to something as wholesome? You see folks see on camera, you see families, date night, everything great about Rhode Island. You see it right here. So what are their objections?
Well, I would say the good news is that it's one of the rare places where you can say the state has actually moved a little bit in the right direction. So the state did change the law 5 or 6 years ago to no longer allow cities and towns to have their own separate fire inspections and own separate background checks and own separate requirements for licensing. So the state of Rhode Island provides the food trucks a single state license which covers the Department of Health and fire inspections. And then each city and town is permitted to charge a truck up to $75 a year for a fee. Mm-hmm. So cities and towns can no longer charge trucks $300 a year to license a permit. But where cities and towns that aren't welcoming the food trucks have really taken advantage is that they will draw red lines or make it difficult for trucks to operate. All it takes is some data. You just have to look at the data that says that, when food trucks are present, if they go to an area that's underdeveloped or people aren't familiar with, people go back to those areas and spend money in other places. Or if, people that go into a town where they're not familiar with and they go to a food truck event or they eat a food truck, they're more likely to set up shop there and start a business or live there or move there or go back to a restaurant or bar. The cities and towns that are keeping food trucks out or aren't welcoming are really just not doing their due diligence to see the value and what it brings to the community.
Excellent. Of course, when you talk about costs and challenges, it brings us to PVDFest. What went right, what went wrong from your perspective at PVDFest? You've got a considerable amount of experience working. We're sitting here in the city of Providence right now. What's your takeaway?
Yeah, so we're very proud. The very first PVDFest, we were brought in as a consultant by the city to help them figure out how to manage Food Truck Village. And then for a number of years, the city managed food trucks on their own. But for the past 2 years, the city brought us back in as a consultant to help us manage Food Truck Village. We helped them come up with the requirements for food trucks and the fees. Those fees did go directly to the festival. We were there to manage Food Truck Village. The footprint that was provided to us, I think, is a change, right? I think that if you liked the Mardi Gras feel in downtown, this food truck, this PVDFest was not that. But there was a lot more green space. There was a lot more space for trucks to be in one area. And the truth is, at the end of the day, the weather killed the analysis, because the food trucks did, by percentage of hours the PVDFest was open and not rained out, the food trucks did about the same amount of sales that they did last year. So if we hadn't lost the 2 hours in rain on Saturday and the washout on Sunday, food trucks would have done as well as they did in the previous year. Now, that's not to say that people enjoyed it as much or that they thought it was as vibrant, or some people liked it more, some people liked it less. But from an economic standpoint, the food truck sales were matching up to the same that they did in the previous year.
The expense of being an operator here within the city of Providence. One of the rumblings and grumblings that rose up from, and folks, we all got to remember, Rhode Island, it's not a city, it's not a state, it's a tribe, and tribes have disagreements, and that's the nature of business. This is, as I like to say, the restaurant business is not bad business, is it? At any stretch. But there were a lot of folks who were surprised by the expense to the food truck operators. Did that all, just to clear the air, did that all go to the city?
The fees that the trucks paid? Yeah, the fees that the trucks paid went directly to the festival and to the city. And historically, food trucks are used to, and the standard fees that trucks pay to attend an event runs between 10 and 20% of their sales.
Right.
That's what a standard fee is. And that was no different for PVDFest. You know, the trucks that paid to be there all 3 days, even based on the sales that they did over the 2 days and with the rain out on Sunday, the fees ended up being about 10% of what their sales were. So it was on the low end of what the industry norm is. There was also a lot of opportunities to vend throughout the city last weekend that weren't part of PVDFest. Any truck that wanted to sign up for PVDFest, was able to. But just like any other festival, trucks had the decision to sign up or not, or think it was a good value or not. And one of the things about being a vendor at an outside event is you're part of the risk of your business is the weather. And not having good weather for 3 days and having an apples to apples comparison, it's absolutely a time of year where small businesses are relying on late in the season revenue to help them get through the tough winters. And having a weekend where the weather did not cooperate was really unpleasant, especially because you could see that even if it wasn't the perfect footprint for everyone, the revenue that was getting generated would have been significant for the trucks if the weather had held up.
Was there a percentage fee and an appearance fee, I'll call it?
No, it was just, the city just did a flat fee for each day and then a reduction if you did all 3 days together.
Wow, okay. And in events like this, you're a professional manager. You've got years of experience. You've got relationship with W Trucks, but are you involved in all of this? And maybe you can clear the air on it. And, I'm always profoundly uncomfortable asking businesses about the personal details of the relationship, but it is a municipal one. As a result, people.
So this is not a municipal event. Okay. So this Carousel Village is zoo property. The zoo has leased this land from the city for 10 years. So the zoo owns this land, and we lease, they don't own this land. The zoo has a 10-year contract to manage Carousel Village and these grounds within the park, and we have a contractual agreement with the zoo, and we have generated over $125,000 in rent and income directly to the zoo over the last 9 years. There is no public vending in city parks. So for me or any other food truck to come and sell in Roger Williams Park, you need to get permission and a permit from the Parks Department. But Carousel Village is land that is contract, just like the zoo is, and the tennis courts and the Botanical Center are all leased pieces of the park to enterprises.
So much like the golf course here. This is an entity that operates on and correct me if I'm wrong, because I want to characterize this properly. This is an entity that operates at an arm's length contractual agreement with the city and is effectively subletting this space to an organization who then has hired you.
Yeah, if for more details on that, I would refer you directly to the zoo or to the city. We're not privy to that contractual agreement.
In terms of your relationship,
correct.
You, in a sense, a private organization has hired your organization to manage these properties.
Correct.
Or this property.
This event, Food Truck Friday, is a contractual partnership with the zoo that has a lease to manage this property.
Okay. All right.
Now, for PVDFest, it's a little bit different. PVDFest looks at our expertise of everything we did and said, we want you to help us make sure we have the right amount of trucks so that all the trucks can make money. We want to have the trucks set up so that they'll be successful for the attendees. So we had a contractual arrangement with the city, just the way all of the other people that provided arts and entertainment for the city. The city paid us for our expertise to make sure that Food Truck Village was managed properly, had the right amount of trucks, and the trucks would do well and the customers would be happy.
And is that, I would say, your relationship with them, that's separate from the fees that were paid by vendors to, in this case, it would have been the management company from PVDFest. They received the funds directly.
That's correct.
All right, so you had a separate contractual relationship directly with the city?
Correct.
Okay. Not with the PVDFest management people, but with...
So the relationship between the city and First Works and PVDFest and us, all I know is that we send an invoice to the city for our management services, and the trucks paid the city to be there, and that was not commingled at all.
Okay, fair enough. And in this case, it was a flat fee as opposed to the normal percentage.
So every festival does it differently.
Right.
Generally, municipal events will not do a percentage because they're not in the business of collecting sales and collecting numbers and then asking for percentages. For most large festivals that go on that are municipal run, or even, for most festivals that have a lot of components, they will come up with a flat fee per day, much like the folk festival and the jazz festival does, and a lot of other large festivals. They'll charge a flat fee and trucks will determine if they prefer to do events that are flat fee or percentages. Everyone's got an opinion of whether or not they prefer flat fees or percentages. In the case of PVDFest, all of that was available to the trucks when they signed up. They all knew what they were signing up for when they decided to do PVDFest.
Now, I guess the other question arises is sort of it's reflective, really, of the fractious nature, if you will, of the restaurant business at large.
Sure.
See, we have a tribe, and then we have plans within the tribe. What's the science of, for example, a layout like tonight? Watching things as closely as you do, I would imagine that there are spots that are more preferable. There's other spots. How does that all play in? You know, is it science? Is it art?
So for us, you know, we're professionals. You know, we're marketing experts. You know, we're consultants and we're event planners. And if we said to these 15 trucks, you can just pull in here, you know, we're not going to have anyone here. You guys pull in and figure it out. It would look very different, right? You know, but we're very strategic. We want to put the
bumper cars.
We want to put the dessert trucks where we think they're most likely to do well. We want to put the trucks that are all selling fried foods separated from each other, so it's not fried foods in a row. We want to put different types of foods in different types of places. We never look at a footprint and say who's our favorite truck or who's our favorite operator. You know, we're looking at what's best for the event in its totality and the customers. And you're right, like the reason that we've been doing this for going into our 10th year of events, and the reason that we've been named best food event in all of Rhode Island is because we put a lot of time and effort in not only making sure it's the best customer experience, but making sure that we have the right amount of trucks in the right places so that every single truck can leave here making a profit and is making as much profit as they can. And we worked very hard to do that at every single event we did, and we've done 100 events this summer.
Understanding that you have a contractual relationship with the First Works, I say with the city in this whole part, what's your takeaway? I mean, obviously, the weather's the weather. You know?
Sure.
Yikes, right?
Right.
That aside, is there anything that you discuss right now that you would do differently next year, understanding now the flow of people within, everyone calls it now the footprint.
Sure.
But within the footprint, within the park, within that wide atmosphere, are there things that you would do differently, or are you still sort of in that rumination stage?
I'm still in the rumination stage. I mean, I would say that it was a very good first start. I would say that it's a large enough, spread out enough footprint so that there should be more programming. Like, I think that it's hard to figure out how much programming you need, but I think there's room in that footprint for more programming. You know, I think that there should still be conversations about whether it's a 2-day festival or a 3-day festival. I think that I support either, but I think there should be the right amount of programming for the amount of people that are going to attend and the amount of artists and vendors and food trucks. I think that you know, there's an opportunity for PVDFest to still be a signature event for the city of Providence and for the state. And I do think that it's important for PVDFest to occur, you know, whether it's in June or it's in September, you know, at a time when the most amount of people can come out and enjoy it.
Well, if someone's thinking of starting a food truck right now, to close out on this, as someone with a lot of experience, what would you, and let's assume they have some restaurant cooking experience, that this isn't just somebody saying, hey Dad, you make great scrambled eggs, in my case, you should do a breakfast food truck.
Yep.
What would you say to them?
I would say that this is not a business that you enter thinking that you're going to make a lot of money in a year or two. This has got to be a business that you enter because you love making scrambled eggs and you want to have a direct connection with your customers and you want to work hard and feel like you've earned every penny that you've made, because you are going to be earning pennies and dollars, not tens of dollars and thousands. It's a hard job, and a lot of the people that are here that are owning the trucks tonight will tell you that they work really hard and they probably should be making more money than they are, but they love every moment of it and they're doing it because it's a passion and they can see the incremental growth and their successes grow. And that's what I would tell someone if they're going into the business: be prepared to work really hard and make sure you're doing something that you're going to love. So
for a lot of these people, they are multi-year overnight successes.
Exactly.
And I would imagine, it's getting a little windy, I would imagine a lot of this, wow, holy cow. I offended somebody.
Yes, we might have to cut this short if I have to go help people with wind and stuff in a moment.
Final question, how much of this is based on building a following at events like this where people come and look at you?
I mean, again, you know, we don't own a food truck and just show up with our friends to an event. We spend the entire week reaching out to our social media database of over 75,000 people, of updating our website, which is a national directory of food trucks. Like our little Food Trucks In website is a national directory all over the country. We spend a lot of time using traditional and social media marketing to let people know where we'll be, what trucks will be there, what the new trucks are, what music will be playing. We spend a lot of time and effort to make sure that when we show up with a group of trucks, that there'll be people that show up there and know that we're going to be there.
All right, shameless self-promotion. How can folks find you?
Website is foodtrucksin.com -- food -truck -events. Social media is PVD Food Truck Events. If you look for us, you'll find